Tonight on CTV News at 11:30. Seeking stability for the forest industry.
We started yesterday morning bright and early on the commencement of that, and it had already been in the works prior to that.
Support for Kapuskasing's Cap Paper is promoting municipal officials to call on senior governments for action. Plus, remembering Steve Butland.
It was a real dedication to the community and a real passion for the community, and I think that was recognized by everyone he represented over the years.
One of Sault Ste. Marie's longest-serving politicians has passed away. And a memorable moment.
Hits a home run, a Springer dinger, and the place, like the roof blew off the place. Definitely an experience of a lifetime. We'll never forget it.
A North Bay family was in Toronto watching the Jays' historic win last night.
CTV News at 11:30 with Ian Campbell and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Ian is off tonight. Provincial police are investigating a sudden death in Kearney, about 25 kilometers southeast of Sundridge. Emergency crews responded to a medical call in a bush area near an OFSC trail Monday at 9 a.m. A 71-year-old from Greater Napanee was pronounced dead at the scene. OPP say the cause of death is a firearm-related hunting incident. There was a heavy police presence in Chiging First Nation earlier today as crews responded to a fire that's considered suspicious. Manitoulin Island OPP and UCCM Anishinaabe Police say the blaze broke out at a home on a Sands Drive. OPP say the Ontario Fire Marshal is investigating the cause. After support for Cap Paper in Kapuskasing recently, municipal officials are urging senior levels of government to take action to ensure sustainability of the forestry industry. CTV's Lydia Chubak reports.
The mayor of Kapuskasing says after receiving good news on Friday, Cap Paper is slowly getting up and running again. He says it was idle for about 6 weeks after the board had run out of funds to pay employees. Dave Plourde says the community is relieved. The federal and provincial governments have stepped up with financial investments totaling close to $29 million to get around 300 people back on the payroll. Plourde says work is underway to plan for the operation's future.
We started yesterday morning bright and early on the commencement of that, and it had already been in the works prior to that, but we're having regular updates, and we're going to make sure that we have something in front of the governments very soon.
Plourde, who now also sits as chair of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, says the support is appreciated, but on the whole, Northern Ontario's forestry sector requires urgent and coordinated action to ensure long-term stability.
It's important to come up with a strategic plan for the forest industry to maintain the jobs throughout the NOMA and FNUM territory, both east and west. Something that balances the wood baskets that exist in those two regions, and that ensures that we're able to saw the logs that are required to build homes. Every community is crying about homes. We need homes.
With recent news of the indefinite closure of Interfor's Ear Falls Mill in northwestern Ontario, the curtailment of Green First Forest Products operations in northeastern Ontario, and closures of sawmills in British Columbia, Plourde says now more than ever, the federal government must work at light speed to secure a fair and durable trade agreement with the United States. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
BMI Group, a company that reimagines and repurposes legacy industrial sites, has completed its purchase of the former Espanola pulp and paper mill. The site will operate as Biofeld North. BMI signed the asset purchase agreement in April of this year. While officials can't disclose what opportunities are knocking, they say they are in talks with some firms.
I would say that the main theme is to put the wood back to work. How do we put the wood back to work? And that is obviously the site itself has quite a few assets. We have the hydroelectric dam, there's the pulp operation, and also paper making. But we've, if you follow us a little bit in the news, we've also been engaged and invested into some emerging technologies from putting wood back to work.
It's going to take some time, but they are keeping, they've offered 31 employees that are there now, offering them employment as long as they want to stay. And then in the future, of course, we're hoping that it'll bring in more employees and benefits for the community.
Butland says employees will continue to operate the hydroelectric dam in Espanola. In 6 months' time, officials hope to make another announcement about prospects for the site. Partners in the mining sector are marking Mining Week in Sudbury, but one big concern is the future workforce. CTV's Angela Gemmell has more.
There's more to mining than finding the rocks, although a very important part.
A room full of employers and other stakeholders hear from experts on programs, resources, and tools to attract talent to mining. The industry is booming, but there's a need for workers.
Workforce is a challenge for all of our members across the province in the Mining Service and Supply Association, and we're really hoping that giving them education opportunities like this where they can learn what programs are available to them.
The labor supply is not as strong as it could be. We have been facing a lot of labor shortages, particularly with skilled trades, mechanics, electricians, and so on.
This forum was one of many events on the agenda during Mining Week in Sudbury. This economist says mining employment reached its highest level ever last month, stressing that need will only increase due to the demand for critical minerals.
There's a disconnect between mining demand, employment demand, and supply. So mining demand can be very volatile. 1 year we could double the number of people we need, but mining supply is not very flexible. And so we need to have supports in place so that we have a robust and steady supply of labor going into the future.
One panelist says youth need to see all the pathways a career in mining could lead to.
We need industry at the table. We need industry to come out and talk to young people about the world of work. We want young people to feel like they have some real intention and inspiration at the point when they graduate and think about their next steps.
One of the other events on this week's agenda is the Mine Opportunity Connect for high school students from Sudbury, Espanola, and Manitoulin. That competition gets underway tomorrow at Laurentian University. Angela Gemmell, CTV News, Sudbury.
The North Bay Police Board approved its 2026 budget this morning and is sending it to the city for approval. CTV's Eric Tashner breaks it down for us.
We are well positioned. The North Bay Police Board have their crosshairs locked on a 7.62% increase in its 2026 operating budget. After months of tweaking and discussions with community partners, the board was able to whittle it down from a proposed 10% hike.
There's not a lot of fat to trim. My job is to make sure the community is safe and that we're providing a service that's able to respond to emergencies.
The increase represents close to $2.3 million, with the overall municipal levy set at $32.1 million.
We've seen increases, higher increases over the past few years, and this does bring it down to a more manageable level. 94%
of the operating budget consists of salaries and benefits. The budget doesn't include money for any new positions, but factors in the new collective bargaining agreement ratified in the summer and updated training requirements under the Community Safety and Policing Act.
There was a lot of things I would have liked to have had in the budget, but I am satisfied with what we have.
The board approved nearly $1.7 million on the capital side to continue tackling communication coverage issues and complete a needs assessment of the current headquarters to see if it's still a viable location.
We want to make sure that we weren't putting a huge burden on the tax base, recognizing that it was a significant ask last year.
There's also a need for more equipment, including ammunition, firearms, and vehicles that come from the United States. Those costs continue to rise.
We had a grace period up to the end of October to make some purchases without the tariffs impacting them.
The budget will now be sent to the city for approval during its upcoming deliberations, which are scheduled to start next week.
And when I go to the council table, I'm looking at the overall impact on the city as well.
A special council meeting is scheduled for December to approve the city's 2026 budget. Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
3 people have been arrested in Sudbury for more than 20 incidents of shoplifting. Patrol officers located 2 people in the Cambrian Heights area who were breaching release conditions last week. Police took them into custody and determined the pair were responsible for at least 20 shoplifting incidents on Notre Dame Avenue over the last 3 weeks. A 29-year-old man and a 34-year-old woman have been charged with theft under $5,000 and were remanded to custody after a bail hearing. A 40-year-old woman wanted for a slew of shoplifting incidents on the Kingsway was also taken into custody over the weekend. That individual is believed to have stolen more than $18,000 between April and September. A longtime champion for the city of Sault Ste. Marie has died. Former Member of Parliament, Mayor and City Councillor Steve Butland was 84 when he passed away last week. CTV's Corey Nordstrom has more.
A man who served Sault Ste. Marie for more than 30 years is no longer with us. Steve Butland was one of the city's longest-serving politicians, with a career in public office ranging from 1980 to 2018. His death on October 15th is being mourned by the city of Sault Ste. Marie, where he served as both mayor and councillor.
What was interesting with Steve, we didn't agree on every issue, that's for sure. We had opposing views on significant number of important issues, but he was always such a gentleman. And, you know, it was really a willingness to tell you ahead of time he was or wasn't supporting a certain issue that I was bringing up, or vice versa. It taught me that as he proposed things, that I should be having that conversation with him or with other councillors ahead of time, explaining why I would or would not be supporting something, and do it in a respectful way. So he really showed what it meant to be a consummate professional in politics.
Born and raised in the Sioux, the former New Democrat MP served as a teacher and principal in the city for 34 years. Shoemaker shared a term of council with Butland, saying that the former mayor became a mentor to him. After retirement, Butland received the city's Medal of Merit and Key to the City.
He was strongly admired by the people, even, you know, if his partisan politics were on the ebb, his municipal nonpartisan politics flowed from there. And so it was a real dedication to the community and a real passion for the community. And I think that was recognized by everyone he represented over the years.
Sault Ste. Marie Algoma MP Terry Sheehan paid tribute to his former colleague today in the House of Commons, sharing a story of their time together.
When he and I, as city councillors, visited the House of Commons at an AMO conference, and we walked in the door, and it was a guard that remembered him a decade later fondly and remembered his name, what party he belonged to, and everything. It was quite amazing the impact this guy had on every kind of people from all walks of life. My condolences to Sharon, his daughters, Stephanie, Susan, Stacy, their husbands, their grandchildren. Rest in peace, Steve. Rest in peace.
Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
A code gray declared at Sioux Area Hospital has since been resolved. A code gray is a clinical system or infrastructure issue impacting care. Officials at the hospital say they were experiencing hardware issues and that their computer systems were down. All affected systems were restored just before 9 o'clock this evening. Time now for a short break here on CTV News. Coming up, we'll have your full weather forecast, but for now, a look at the current conditions around the region. We've got some single-digit temperatures out there, a cool night, that's for sure, some rain falling here and there, cloud coverage elsewhere. Your full forecast is coming up next.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
We've got precipitation and a taste of snow in the northeast with our forecast for, well, this evening and continuing overnight for the next day or so. As you can see, our forecast radar, some of that precipitation swirling around early Thursday morning, and right behind it we've got some flurry activity as well in Kapuskasing, Timmins, Chapleau, Temiskaming Shores, Greater Sudbury, and elsewhere as well. So have a look out for that. Here are the conditions now for the next couple of days. Sudbury Nickel Belt, chance of showers for tomorrow at 60%. That's a pretty good bet at 10. Chance of sleet Thursday and Friday at 5 and 7, your daytime highs. Saturday and Sunday, much better. Sun and cloud, 7 and 10. Even Monday, some sun and cloud warming up to 11 and perhaps 12 by next Tuesday. Well above normal for this time of the year. Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma, chance of showers tomorrow at 10. Then we have the chance of sleet Thursday and Friday, 7 and 6. Daytime highs Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Sun and cloud all 3 days, but a gradual incline in terms of the temperatures, 10, 12, and 13. Not bad for really the last week of October. Meanwhile, in Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, chance of showers tomorrow at 7, chance of sleet for a couple of days. Thursday and Friday, 5 both days, but the evening temperatures, we go from 0 to -2, 0 to 3, and back down to -2 and -1. Now, Saturday, Sunday, some cloud cover. Sun and cloud, 5 and 9, the highs. Monday, 11 with the sun and cloud. Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake, chance of showers tomorrow at 9, chance of sleet Thursday, Friday, daytime highs around 6, only 5 on Saturday with the cloud cover. Sunday, sun and cloud at 8, warming up to 10 degrees on Monday with the sun and cloud. Again, a couple of degrees above normal for this time of the year, which sits at around 8. Now a peek at what's happening for North Bay and West Nipissing. Chance of showers at 60% tomorrow, daytime high around 10. Chance of sleet Thursday and Friday, 5 and 7. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we've got sun and cloud, which is a lot better than what we're getting right now. 7, 8, and 11. Those evening temperatures somewhat cool at 0, 1, 2, 3, back down to 1. So again, change is in the offing for the last week of October, but your weekend, Amanda Hicks, will look a lot better than it is for today and for tonight. Back to you.
Thanks, Rick. A motion calling on the province to compensate the city of Greater Sudbury for the loss of speed camera revenue was shot down at council tonight. Councillor Bill Leduc's motion was in response to Premier Doug Ford's plan to force municipalities to remove speed cameras. Leduc argued that Premier Doug Ford's mandate to force municipalities to take down the cameras would cost the city money, both in lost revenue and the expense of physically removing the infrastructure. However, Mayor Paul Lefebvre and others felt the motion was premature.
And if we have 37 different letters with 37 different directions asking the government to go in, I don't think that's very productive as to how we ask them to change or show you support. I am in support, certainly, of automated speed enforcement program. I think we've seen the success. It has slowed down traffic, and actually we're asking the wrongdoers to pay for the traffic calming, not all taxpayers to pay, and that's why I'm in support of that. That being said, I think there's better avenues.
Lefebvre said there's broad municipal support across Ontario to keep the cameras. The Sault member of Provincial Parliament has returned to Queen's Park after missing the first day of the new session.
I seek unanimous consent for a moment of silence for the passing of Steve Butland, former mayor of Sault Ste. Marie, former member of Parliament for Sault Ste. Marie, recipient of the city's Medal of Merit.
Scott's first act as an independent member was to ask for a moment of silence for Steve Butland. Despite having been expelled from the Progressive Conservative Party over criminal charges, Scott was seen rising and applauding his former colleagues during today's session from his new seat in the legislature. Scott's return hasn't swayed Sault Mayor Matthew Shoemaker, who has said Scott should resign. Shoemaker said today he will continue to work around his city's provincial representative.
If he's raising issues that are important to Saultites, then I hope that it'll help advance the cause. I plan to not change course in terms of how I'm conducting myself. I plan to do direct outreach to the Premier's office, to the ministers that have active files relating to Sault Ste. Marie on their desks, and to advocate for the Sioux, with the government directly, as he is no longer a member of it.
Scott did not respond to an interview request from CTV News. He will be in court tomorrow morning on charges of assault and assault with a weapon. In the meantime, Sudbury MPP Jamie West spoke out today on what he calls the government's inaction on wage theft. West quoted a Workers' Action Centre report saying almost $200 million in wages have been withheld, paid late, or have been shortchanged in the last 10 years. This includes 60% of workers surveyed saying they did not receive adequate or any compensation for overtime. West called on the government to make more of an effort to protect workers.
$200 million was stolen from workers. They got 1/8 of that back. 1/8. You know how it happened? It's not accident, Speaker. In 2018, the Conservative Minister of Labour instructed staff not to initiate any proactive inspections on this. Whoa. And according to their own data, these proactive inspections prevent wage theft.
West says inspections are down 77% over the last 7 years. The report makes several recommendations, including the government closing gaps in the Employment Standards Act to prevent practices that result in wage theft. Today is Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day. CTV's Madison Marier has more from Sudbury.
The City of Greater Sudbury celebrated the 25th Annual Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day today.
Doing a proclamation kind of just raises the awareness, right? Saying that we're, as a city, we thank you and we declare this day an Early Childhood Educator Day. Right? And so the fact that we're acknowledging that importance of that work and those workers.
We definitely are celebrating. We celebrate the work that these folks are doing in our communities every single day. But we also know that we need to advocate. We really need the governments to work together to continue the plan.
In 2022, the Government of Canada signed the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Agreement for 5 years, lowering childcare fees to an average of $10 a day. In Sudbury alone, there were over 3,600 children from the age 5 and under on the wait list.
It is agreements that the provinces have and territories with the federal government for a national childcare plan. So we have this plan that is expiring March 2026.
The independent author's report regarding the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare Program states that in 2026, an additional 10,000 registered early childhood educators could be needed by December. But Mantelak says there are only 160 days left in the 5-year agreement that ends next March.
Make sure that we can continue having the benefits to families, children, workers, the economy in general, to ensure that we have proper funding and stable funding for our childcare plan.
We want our economy to grow. More workers in the workforce is key. So that's why early childhood education and the educators and spaces are key to making that happen. That's why when I was former MP, we actually started that program federally and in partnership with the provinces.
We reached out to the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra, for a comment on the ongoing negotiations, and we did not receive a response by deadline. Madison Marier, CTV News, Sudbury.
The City of Timmins is offering an extension on transit passes for November. Anyone who bought a pass in October can have their passes extended for use in November. Passengers who are buying passes for November can start using them immediately this month. The extension is to support passengers affected by the recent transit strike, and refunds will be provided to anyone who purchased their October bus passes before September 29th, when the strike began. Still ahead tonight on CTV News, Jays fans in the North celebrate last night's big win. While Blue Jays fans in the North and everywhere are celebrating, one North Bay family was actually at the historic game in Toronto last night. Steve Rickson, his family, and a few friends were seated near the third baseline. They described the atmosphere inside the Rogers Centre as electric and exciting. Rickson grew up a Blue Jays fan, playing baseball when he was young. The last time the Jays won the World Series was in 1993. Rickson was 9 years old. The loudest part of the game, of course, the George Springer World Series berth-clinching home run.
We just couldn't get the momentum going. So then 2 guys on base looking for a hit to tie it up. And all of a sudden he hits a home run, a Springer dinger, and the place, like the roof blew off the place. Definitely an experience of a lifetime. We'll never forget it. Like just grown men crying after the game.
The Ricksons tried to scrounge up valuable World Series tickets, but they're hard to come by. However, they say they won't be missing a pitch from their living room during the World Series. And finally for us tonight, golf is not a sport that requires helmets, but members of the Owen Sound Attack might consider wearing them when they're golfing with their captain. The OHL team visited a golf simulator during a recent road trip in North Bay. Captain David Bukowski couldn't keep his hands on his club during his swing and accidentally launched it into the facility's kitchen. Luckily, no one was hurt. And that takes us to the end of our newscast this Tuesday night. Thanks for watching. Good night.